Fellow Kiwanians, good night.
Hi, President Omar.
This is P.E. Omar from the
PE.
Kiwan Club.
Hi, PE Omar.
From the Kiwan Club, North St. Andrew. We're three in attendance now. I'm waiting for others to join. Thank you for the invite to your meeting. Should be interested tonight. Thank you.
Right, Omar, thank you for joining us, PE. Anybody else from Division 23 Central? Okay. Any of our SLPs joining us this evening?
VP Andrew, there are one or two key clubbers on the call. They may be too shy to introduce themselves.
Okay,
but there are two members of St. Andrew High School. There's Christian Grant and Julia Smith. And Tahira Stewart representing DuPont Primary Technical High School.
Excellent. Welcome to our SLPs on the call. I see a greeting in the chat. Good evening, everyone, from Richie Edwards. Greetings, Richie. So any guests of Kiwanians, anybody on the meeting who was invited by a Kiwanian or just who happens to be, who got access to the link and just stopping in, anybody new who would like to introduce themselves? No. Okay. Welcome again to everybody who's here. Even those who weren't able to, who didn't identify themselves, welcome. We're glad to have you here, and we look forward to what our meeting has in store and what our speaker will share with us. Thanks very much. I return the mic to President-elect Arsenio.
Thank you, VP Uncle Andrew. I did not forget the intro this time. All right. Let us move on to apologies for absence. The only apology I have is for President Zuri, who, not that I think about it, I don't want to miss a meeting in the past year, which is first. So I know he very much wanted to be here with us. If there's anyone else who has an apology, feel free to share with us.
Yes, President-elect Arsenio, we have apologies from Director Richard Reese. As you all know, he just returned from the United States where he undertook a medical procedure for his thyroid. We also have apologies. Our past treasurer, Orville Lewis, as you know, is in Grand Cayman at this time. I think those are the two only, and I think there's an apology from DP Chris Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Deus. All right, if there are no other apologies, we will move on to the recognition of birthdays and anniversaries. And I will again invite
Okay, we're celebrating birthdays and anniversaries that have occurred in the last week. We have a few listed, and I invite anybody on the chat also who's celebrating, who's a birthday, an anniversary, any other special occasion that they'd wish to share with us on the call to unmute and do so. We have our Kiwanian Errol Hudson, who celebrated his birthday a few days ago on the 6th of February. Happy birthday, Kiwanian Errol. To Edna Wright, the wife of Kiwanian Garth Wright, who celebrated her birthday also on the same day, the 6th of February. who have some birthdays ahead. Sharing the special day with Valentine's Day. Kiwani Dennis Townsend celebrates his birthday on the 14th of February, upcoming day, the Saturday, the 14th of February. And DP Jeff Masado and his wife Jennifer Masado celebrate their anniversary the 12th of February, February 12th. Okay, these are the celebrants that we have listed. Anyone on the call has a birthday coming up or recently passed, has an anniversary that's coming up to celebrate, and we all are celebrating love this Saturday ahead. Anybody has any shareable celebrations? No? Okay. All right. I hand over or hand it back to PERC to continue the meeting.
Thank you, VP Uncle Andrew. Okay, so now we will have Kiwani's education, and Kiwani's education will be done by DLG Desmond Bachelor.
VPR Senior, I don't see DLG Desmond Bachelor online, so I'm going to do the Kiwanis in education instead.
Thank you.
Being we're celebrating Kids Week, I thought it was appropriate to read a section from the book Kiwanis in Jamaica, which speaks to our sponsor Youth Cedar Leadership Service Leadership Program. Section on the K-Kids. The K-Kids recruit membership from 5 to 11 years old at the preparatory elementary school level. The K-Kids started in Jamaica in 2000 at the Hemingway Preparatory School sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Montego Bay. It received its charter on the 15th of April 2000. 3 others were chartered between August and September 2000 at Lucy Preparatory School by the Kiwanis Club of Hanover, at St. Jude Preparatory School by the Kiwanis Club of Eastern St. Andrew, and at Zenith Preparatory School by the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. As you all know, Zenith Preparatory School no longer exists. However, doing that, just after that, K-Kids were formed at Hope United, which lost its charter, but recently was reorganized in February of 2025. Those 4 clubs and others have grown to 36 by 2007. They have meetings that mimic a real Kiwanis club. They have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. They also have fundraising activities, and each meeting is attended by a Kiwanis advisor. The advisor comes from our club, and you have a school advisor. In other words, these people are with them at the meeting and they advise them. They visit our clubs and the clubbing so they see how the Kiwanis operate, and they go back and mimic the exact thing because this is how they learn. They have their fundraisers at schools where they do their cake sales, they do barbecues, and they have their projects around the school and outside the school. I know Immaculate has adopted Lace Grade School in the Cassava Peace area. They adopt projects that they think they can manage, and sometimes they read to the elderly. They go to children's homes. Sometimes they have children's treat for them. They operate exactly like a Kiwanis Club does. Builders and K-Kids in Jamaica have annual divisional rallies in which they compete in sport, debate, math, speech, essay, scrapbook achievement, and leadership development activities for local and international awards. Elect our senior, that is a section of K-Kids taken from the book Kiwanis in Jamaica, which I recommend to all our Kiwanis online to try and obtain a copy. It was also Patrick Brand and it describes Kiwanis in Jamaica between 1964 and 2009. Over to you, President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for that insight. All right. So now we've arrived at our main event. So without further ado, I will hand over to DP Stu for the introduction of our guest speaker.
Oh, that's okay. Are you hearing me now?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Strength 5.
Thank you, P. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, it is my pleasure this evening to introduce our guest speaker. As you may have seen on the flyer, his name is Derrick Simon, and he is the commercial manager at Hope Gardens. You know, that famous place where we all used to, well, I don't want to say used to, but certainly if we are not going there now, we all used to go there when we were smaller. A beautiful place. He's also a practicing agronomist. He worked in the agricultural subsector in Jamaica he has worked in the agricultural subsector in Jamaica for over 35 years in industries such as organic fertilizer, Sea Island cotton, the Blue Mountain coffee, and the ornamental industry. He has served on the board of directors at the Coffee Industry Board, now renamed the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Authority, which is JACRA, and occasionally contributes to the Agriculturalist newspaper. Derrick is married to Donna Simon, and they have 3 adult children. He didn't tell me which school he went to, but I don't know if it will come up in his presentation. We always like to know because there's a little rivalry that goes on here. I hope you didn't go to Kingston College anyway. We'll leave it at that. Fellow Kiwanis and guests, help me welcome Derrick Simon.
All right, thank you so very much. It's a wonderful privilege of mine to be able to have a captive audience, people listening to me. I can't believe it. So I'm thrilled. And I see we have all of 50 participants. Wow. You people have invested your time in listening to me, so I hope you're not disappointed. I want to thank, first of all, Miss Cleobel Lewis, who I know she has moved earth and heaven to find a forum for me to express myself and the things that mean dearly to me, especially with concerns the environment and climate change. And I want to say special thanks also to Mr. Stuart Spencer. Now, he did yeoman's job in trying to organize my madness. And he started from days ago. So I'm immensely appreciative and owe him a debt of gratitude, as it were. And, I also want to pay tribute to the Kiwanis movement. It's enduring, and I think you have done yeoman's service to this country of ours, Jamaica. And now you have tentacles overseas as well. So you have done no mean contribution to this country. And I want to recognize the movement as a whole. All right, so I want to for us to recognize in my limited time here that the Hurricane Melissa, everybody knows the words to describe it is unprecedented. We have never seen such fury in our lifetime. And I empathize with all those persons in the western belt of the island, in all those parishes who were so frightfully affected. And it gives reason and it gives a basis for taking a deeper interest in what has happened and why it has happened. So although I'm going to introduce the issue of food security, which is of paramount importance, I think that's an imperative that we as Jamaicans has to embrace. It's not whether we should have channels for securing our food, but it's an imperative. But before we delve into that aspect of things, why is food security under threat? And I believe from the research I've done that food security is always threatened or can always be threatened by events such as Hurricane Melissa. The fact of the matter is, and I'm going to start by getting my carbon footprint slide up first, because it is so important to understand for us to, I mean, I may not be telling you anything new. You all know this to some level already, but it really bears the need for emphasis. So the carbon footprint is just about anything that we do that increases the amount of gas, carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere, what they call greenhouse gases. And our friends to the north, namely the United States, they have, for every person, it is calculated similar to GDP. So every individual has a carbon footprint. And it basically means all the things that you do and all your engagements that causes this carbon interaction with the atmosphere. In the United States, it's supposed to be 16 metric tons per annum. But the average the global average that is appreciated and can for all intents and purposes go less is 4 metric tons. And so there is a huge disparity there. So it means untold amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2, is being emitted into the atmosphere. And this is the basis for our greenhouse gases, I should say. And to the extent that this is a bargaining figure, is to the same extent that it affects the extremities of our climate. And by that I mean extreme heat, extreme cold temperatures. We're having a bit of that in Jamaica now. And it means that rivers will overflow their banks. They will cut new streams. Underground water, such as we have seen in the West, just keep bubbling up because the underground Africa aquifers gets overcharged. And all of this is sounding like great science and great chemistry, but it's broken down simply as a climate out of control. That's really what it is. And so we have to be mindful of this reality that is taking place about us. And I think it would do us well also not to bury our heads in the sand, but to acknowledge that this is happening because to the extent that we are aware is to the same extent that we can become more responsible as individuals and groups. So we had this very ferocious hurricane, which, dislocated people's lives in a terrible way. And when we trace the origins of that, do you know what was the origin? The origin seems to have been a higher ocean temperature. And if ocean temperatures rise by, I wouldn't even say a degree, but even a fraction of a degree, it is abundant cause, in my view, for our ocean temperatures to rise. And with rising ocean temperatures, it just makes for more conducive formation of these terrible storms that move from a lower category to a higher category in an hour or less, or in 2 hours, rapid formation, and it unleashes on the population. So that's a bit of carbon footprint and how that interfaces with where we are recovering from a Category 5 unprecedented hurricane. Now, one of the things that we have to bear in mind is recovery. Recovery is paramount when we have a hurricane, a natural disaster such as this. Recovery is paramount. Recovery is very necessary. Recovery is also very time sensitive. And I believe, let me click this out. I believe that the government of Jamaica is trying to do the best it can for the island to recover, and to not only to recover, the slogan now is to build back stronger. One of the things that is necessary, and this gives me an avenue for departure into our food security issue, is what I would call catastrophe insurance in the Caribbean. Since we are such a vulnerable area, then it means that, well, certainly I am not satisfied with the accessibility or the level of accessibility there is for Caribbean disaster or catastrophe insurance funds. These are going to be critical. These are going to be inescapable and indispensable, both now and in the future. Because without this cushion, it means that our recovery will be delayed, will be postponed, and in the interim period, the catastrophic effects of a hurricane will burgeon out of control. And so I am a strong advocate and want it to be put on record as one who believes more options for catastrophic insurance, especially in the Caribbean region, is needed. But then I understand, and I want to explain to us the timidity of large companies seeding insurance policy funds such as I speak of. And that's because the Caribbean vulnerability is unparalleled, I would say. And the frequency of these events, yes, they can put insurance funds into bankruptcy or near bankruptcy. And for that reason, there's a new buzzword. I'm sure you would have heard it. It's called climate justice, where a Caribbean country like Jamaica, as tiny as we are, as insignificant as we are in terms of our manufacturing potential compared to other larger countries. I mean, we don't produce automobiles here, motor cars and stuff like that, which uses a lot of energy. And, might I tell you that we are still beleaguered in Jamaica and in other Caribbean countries and the larger ones too, by the use of fossil fuels, which I would hope would have been phased out long before I became an adult. Well, that was a childhood dream of mine, that we would understand, appreciate the disaster we invite on ourselves by prolonging the use of coal and gas and the whole range of fossil fuels, which really, really adds in an astronomical way to the amount of greenhouse gases that we emit off into the atmosphere. But climate justice to me is not a fluke. It's going to be hard. It's going to take strenuous lobby. But I think the sooner we get started is the better, because we are very, very tiny and very minuscule offenders when we compare the level of our emissions to huge industrialized countries. And yet we have to face the blunt of the recovery expense. I think we should as CARICOM and as Caribbean nations try to get a unified voice together to lobby for recognition that some form of equity, some form of justice to help us to restore and to build back strong, as they say, I think is a very reasonable requirement. But it's not going to fall in our laps. It's going to be the subject of real strenuous lobby. And it's important for those countries as well, the bigger countries. It's in their own self-interest, if you'll agree with me. For countries like Jamaica, we are small trading partners, but we do have a meaningful effect as a trading partner with some of these larger countries. For instance, our coffee industry, an industry that has been with us for many, many years, well over 100, and one which I'm familiar with. The Japanese economy, quite rightly so, the gourmet market within their economy has for years, from time immemorial, benefited in an immense way from Jamaica's premier coffee, the Blue Mountain brand, which is unsurpassed in the world for its flavor profile and all a host of attributes. And those attributes, you see, everything is linked in. I can hardly avoid linking them in a discussion such as we're having, because it's tolerance in our climate and moderation in our climate, which we are not seeing now, that causes the slow maturation of Blue Mountain coffee to earn the most enviable reputation that it has globally, because of overcast skies up in the Blue Mountain, the cooler temperatures, the slow maturation period, and not to mention the great finesse that is put into the processing. So the climatic conditions, we cannot afford for those to be altered dramatically, because if that happens, or to whatever extent that happens, we are losing the world-renowned flavor, the taste profile, all of those intrinsic qualities that makes Blue Mountain coffee into being the most sought after coffee globally will be lost. And so I think I think I've adequately made a point for disaster insurance and things of that kind. What we have to do, I know my time is limited. What we have to do, and I'm really appreciative for this forum, to explain a little more, because I'm so acutely aware that you all would have known quite a great deal of what I'm saying. But this is just an added detail for reinforcement that climate change and its ravages plays a direct role and has a very frontal and direct impact on food security. And food security really is, in my opinion, if I were to define it, it's an uninterrupted supply of food or food sources that possess great nutritional value. So it's not just securing any food. You want food to be secured by virtue of national policy, governmental policy. You want it to be good and nutritious food. And most importantly, if there is food security, but there's no traceability, you can't track your food sources. You can't track the methodologies of food production. You can't track the conditions in the field, what it is in the range of pesticides and fungicides that we use. We can't track the LD50 of some of these chemicals. LD50 is just simply the amount of toxicity that will cause the death of a mammal. And these are very, very cardinal, you'll agree, and important issues that would underpin the kind of food security. So I think we have to be discriminatory. Food security is in a wide and broad context, can mean a lot of things. But I'm narrowing it down for us because these factors will allow our food security to be the kind of food security that you would fight as a country for. And you want this to be sustained. And it brings me then to one of the foremost points that I want to make. I know not of any national program right now that prioritizes the resuscitation of trees. Now, the forest department, if you go online, you'll see that data. It's frightening how many trees we have lost between ornamental trees and orchard trees by Hurricane Melissa. It is a frightful amount. And so my concept, I'm going to illustrate it in as simplified a way as I can. God forbid that somebody's house get burnt down. But think this over in your mind's eye. somebody's house gets burnt down and the rebuilding process has started, the first thing you want to look at is what is salvageable from this burnt building. What can I salvage? What can I bring back rather than to start from scratch? And that's what I would want a national emphasis to be placed on, because a replanting program, I'm thanking for the image that is up now, a replanting program is going to be costly. It's going to be time consuming, and it's going to be a lot more labor intensive. And where we have our fruit orchards, or the average householder need to arm him or his or herself, I beg your pardon, with the kind of information that is critical for restoration. Now, there's a slide on screen now with a huge, that's an Ethiopian apple tree. It's in the Kingston 6 area, yes, not in the countryside, because there are many outlets in the corporate area now that has orchard crops for restoring Kingston and St. Andrew. And I'm agreeing that we need to make this a policy so that all our fruits and vegetables are not the domain of Westmoreland and Trelawney and those other parishes. But Kingston, do you know that the production of Irish potato in St. Andrew has reached graphically, it's at the top in terms of pounds per acre right here in St. Andrew. And that data is available from RADA, the St. Andrew office. So yes, going back to the point, as this tree was perpendicular to the ground, meaning it laid flat, and I want to disabuse all my friends that a tree lying flat on the ground does not necessarily mean that that tree can't be rehabilitated. As a matter of fact, in the coffee industry, for newly established fields, there is 871 coffee trees to an acre, and they are planted at 1 foot tall. But that 1 foot tall coffee plant does not come into production or in economic production for 5 years. Now, most farmers can't wait for an economic return for 5 years. So what we do in the coffee industry from inception is to rehabilitate. So what we do is just similar to this plant. We cut the tops of the plant off so that we reduce the stress factor on the plant. And we use a device, it's called a Comalon. Mr. Spencer will bring that up. And it's like a ratchet jack that jacks the tree back into an upright position. Mind you, it's not to be done all in one fell swoop, because the branches, the fibrous and advantage roots on one side are already broken, as you can see in the pic. And if you go with the opposite movement, then you'll break those on the other side. So it has to be a gradual over time, let's say 2 or 3 attempts at straightening. And this tree now, the slide will come up, is standing vertical. It is putting back on its foliage, and in 2026, my guess is that it will start producing again. So it's never to be overlooked. I think a lot of trees, especially the orchard trees that have fallen, and people pronounce on the tree without the requisite information. So once the tap root is not drastically battered, and it's just the adventitious or the lateral roots that have been severed. Those roots will regenerate very quickly once you straighten the tree. And as I said, the implement that we use, some of them are 3 ton, some of them 4 ton, depending on the size of the tree. And you ratchet it. It's a high tension activity, but you ratchet, pull the tree straight, and of course you water the root zone, and as the roots catch back, then you start to put your fertilizer applications on. And make no mistake about it. In a year or two, a fruit tree, an adult fruit tree in production, which is lying flat on the ground, perpendicular to the ground, can be adequately straightened. Now, transfer in your mind's eye to a fruit orchard, an orchard of apple trees, or orchard of cherry trees, or an orchard of carambola trees. If you have a pure stand of an acre of carambola and the wind has, slammed it into it, right, there is excellent. I think that one is about a 4 ton, and that can pull a fairly massive tree from lying on the ground to vertical again. It's a useful tree, and I think it should be included in a national resuscitation program, because we can ill afford for all our fruit trees to be downed, and we wring our hands in despair when rehabilitation is a proven process that can be undertaken to bring back your mango trees into production within a year or a little over a year, your orange trees, all your fruit orchards. And this speaks directly to food security, because the gap that we will encounter in replanting is reduced significantly, and it does make sense. That is not to say that there will not be some level of fresh planting, new planting, and establishing replanted orchards will not be necessary. I certainly think that will be necessary, but we are losing far too much from a lack of experimentation and a lack of knowledge. So this is what I'm hoping to convince you all about, that the trees that are grounded can be restored, and with that restoration, we'll have a better chance of securing continuity with the food supply. In terms of vegetables, well, I'll make one final point about vegetables. You've noticed that the price of basic vegetables that will constitute a nutritious meal, your tomato, your onion, your scallion, stuff like that. What came to the rescue of Jamaicans after the hurricane was importation. Very few farmers had much vegetables left. They were wiped out. And in that regard, I am making an impassioned plea for a rethink of greenhouse designs. The greenhouse concept is protected agriculture. It's not open farming. And it's a wonderful concept because the ravages of pest, the ravages of nature, too much rain, too much sunlight, you have a controlled environment, and you're really pandering to food security through the greenhouse industry. However, the design need to be altered. All greenhouses need to have their uprights hinged and a gusset on the shade material. So when the hurricane is 72 hours to landfall or 48 hours to landfall, you push your greenhouse horizontally to the ground because the uprights are hinged. And so so your greenhouse, which is 8 feet tall or 10 feet tall or 15 feet tall, is now hovering at 3 feet tall, which is usually out of the fury of the face, gale, and wind from the hurricane. I think that's a critical design addition that needs to be made for all our greenhouses. And it means that at the end of the storm, you go to the other end and you can yank your greenhouse with the same come-along back vertically because it's the uprights are hinged. And I think a lot of our vegetable production would be preserved. And if you tie that in to our food processors, which the Honorable Minister is pushing, we can have supplies. And by having supplies, there you go, you've said it. We are embarking on a sustainable supply of food. So I'm gonna stop here, give you a minute to catch your breath, and then you can ask some question if you want me to elucidate any related matter or so on. And I can expound a bit if time allows on the science behind resuscitation of trees. As I've said, in the coffee industry, we know nothing else because a small farmer with 5 acres cannot replant and wait 6 years for those coffee trees to come into production. If he did that, then would have long lost our Asian market, which is our premier market in Japan, where 80% of the revered, well, it's the most highly revered, I would say, Blue Mountain coffee is purchased. So back to you, Mr. Moderator. I'm here to answer questions or to explain anything that I didn't say well enough.
Okay. Derrick, would you like the other photos that you had asked me to load? Did you want to?
Yes, you
bring
can
those up?
you can put them up and I'll comment.
Okay.
These are do you know these are ficus trees? Yes, these are ficus trees, and they are such gorgeous specimens when they are standing, towering, tall and elegant. Now the breeze twisted them at ground level, and these were taken after the hurricane. Right now, they have been straightened to a large extent. As I said, the process, if a tree is 45 degrees inclined and you yank it straight all in one exercise, then it means the remaining roots, remember you're yanking it the opposite side now. So the roots on one side have already been severed. So you're now severing the others. So you're jeopardizing it even more than before. So it's a gradual process over 3, even up to 6 months to straighten an adult tree. But when these are nicely straightened, they are a complement to the aesthetics of a garden or of your garden. So not because they are so tall and so tender and so petrifying to look at when they are bent, they can be restored. And this is the high point of what I'm preaching today. Here's another one. This is called the bottle brush. This tree was lying flat. All right. The idea is to remove the stress And so we have cut off all the taller branches that went up towards the sky. By doing so, what you are doing is allowing the pull on the roots for the plant survival to be less, because the more leaves and stem and structure that the roots, the already damaged roots, have to sustain. And this is just basic common sense. I mean, even a child would know this. It would make greater demands on the root system, which is already compromised. So we have cut the tree to about 4 foot tall, and we have straightened it. Having straightened it, though, because of how the hurricane had licked it, it is going to be inclined to tilt over in the direction of where the wind had taken it in the first place. So you're looking at 2x4, what we call guy stakes or guy poles. And we put these guy poles in a permanent position. And the tree, the body of the tree or the weight of the tree is anchored to these poles, which are put in a number of different directions. So they are permanent support. And by the way, when you use the come-along to jack the tree together, you have to cable it or rope it after you disconnect the jack, obviously. Because if that is not done, then the tree is just going to fall back in the original position that the hurricane had put it in the first instance. Beg your pardon. So that tree has had the support in several different positions. And when the root system has fully recovered, then we'll remove those guy poles. And these are ordinary 2x4 poles that you use to make a roof or something like that. Back to the next slide at the apple tree. Here you go now. So we have taken the heavy part of the tree off. And would you believe it? It's just a few remaining roots that is keeping this plant alive. And so we jack, and the tree is braced. You see those stakes? And we leave it there so that those roots that remain can get a chance to solidify and to start nourishing the plant. Now, a week later or 2 weeks later, you remove those and you jack again. So the straightening is a process, and you go afoul of the concept if you were to just jack it. Some people are impatient and just want to jack it straight in one fell swoop, and that wouldn't work. Yeah, and there it is. When it's fully up, and see the harness, you leave that harness in place so that when the wind comes, normal average wind, it doesn't undo what you have done. And yes, if you notice, the leaves are beginning to regenerate and so on. And within a year time, your guess is as good as mine. I think we'll have apples on that tree. So interesting. And as I say, large-scale fruit orchards can do this. You just need to put stakes in the ground so that you have a stable object with which to yank the come-along. So if you have, let's say you have an orchard of cherry trees, you can't yank one cherry tree to another cherry tree that is equally blown over. So you don't now have to put stakes outside of the root zone so that when you yank, you have something to tension and to hold the tree straight. So that would be in an orchard setting. In the tree that we just looked at, the man just yanked it to a wall, and that's it. So I hope I was interesting, and if you have time, I'll field a few questions, hopefully.
Thank you very much, Derrick. You mentioned something about increased. Oh, I had a note here, but I didn't get to finish the note. The reinsurance exists, although I know that in other words, local companies don't tend to bear the brunt of the insurance coverage. They always try to reinsure. But
Yes.
sometimes when a particular zone is really high risk, it's sometimes difficult to get the reinsurance, and therefore sometimes we can't even offer it.
It is. And I can underscore that point. You have hit the nail on the head. Also with the frequencies, you could run an insurance pool dry because of the frequency with which we have these weather-related occurrences. So it means that self-insurance, especially for medium to large farmers in the Caribbean, is going to be critical. I'm using coffee again. If the supply chain to Japan is disrupted, I can assure you, Japan is going to move to Kona coffee out of the Philippines, which has nothing comparable to Jamaica's, but a reasonable taste profile. So it means that we have to find more and more ingenious ways for climate resilience and small pool self-insurers for individual estates. It's just a reality that we have to grapple with, and the lobby for climate justice has not even steamed up yet. That is going to be long, it's going to be arduous, and there's going to be resistance, I can tell. But there is justification for it. And as I mentioned earlier, it is within the interest of the industrialized country with a much higher emission level than us to ensure that we get back on our feet.
I want to open the floor, but let me just ask one more question. What you are doing, what you have showed us in these photos, I'm assuming it's at Hope Gardens. Am I correct?
No. Some is at Hope Gardens, and some is I mean, in my part of the Blue Mountain where I live, there was a man, for example, who came, who showed me a tree. It's a exotic fruit. The tree is 12 feet tall. It's a Logan, have a very pronounced trunk, and it was flat on the ground. And when I went to his premises, he had already had chainsaw in hand, because he just couldn't conceive a tree lying flat on the ground could be restored and brought upright, and a flush of new leaves coming out already. So that Logan is a tropical exotic fruit. It's almost like a date, but its flavor is so delicate and wonderful. I don't know if anybody has that or tasted that. But the tree is now upright. So just to embellish your point, a lot of what the other parishes are notorious for doing, nobody would imagine that a notorious parish like Manchester, Coleyville and those areas, which is the perfect microclimate for Irish potatoes, would now be running jostle with St. Andrew. St. Andrew, I think it's a discovery. We were never known for excellent Irish potato production. But right now, our production data, and I said this is available at RADA, St. Andrew office, can rival the pounds per acre as any Mr. Cristiano. So the point to be made here is St. Andrew does have varying microclimates that facilitates a lot of what the other parishes are known for. For example, carrots. There are some parishes that you just toss the carrot seed and you're sure to get a crop. Now, all you have to do on a clay soil is to add sand to increase the porosity of the soil. And it increases, just that addition of sand increases the possibility of a good yield, even on a clay loam. Once a clay loam has the addition of sand, the carrot would find it very tolerant.
So let me just understand this though. If somebody had a set of trees that were, blown down, but which could be resuscitated, I mean, is this something they would come to you for? Or is this something that's widespread in terms of its knowledge, the knowledge base for it in Jamaica?
No, it's not. It's not. And this is why I'm so thankful that you guys have invited me, because my intention is for this concept to be understood, and then after being understood, to be more widely accepted and to be introduced into the agricultural subsector in Jamaica. Because if you a lay person looking at a tree or several trees flying flat on the ground, the next thing that they're going to do is put their hands on head. Oh, what a disaster. But it's the technical knowledge and the technical background that needs to be disseminated. So that's not hard. Here I am doing it right now. And for a department now in the Ministry of Agriculture, which would be labeled the Tree Resuscitation Department, where the extension officers in each parish would now be trained, and that's where I would come in the procedures for rehabilitating. I didn't say this, but when you're doing it, when you're yanking the tree, you gird it with a piece of plastic or a piece of cloth, because the process must be 100% free of further epidermal damage. Now, the bark of the tree is almost equated with the same importance as the root, especially in a situation where everything about the tree is now compromised because it's flat on the ground. So you tend not to allow the bark of the tree to be subject to any more bruising or breaking, because that epidermal layer covers very, very critical parts of the tree, like the cambium. If the cambium gets exposed because the epidermal layer is scraped away or removed, then the prospect of that tree recovering is significantly diminished.
Okay. Is there anyone who has a question for Mr. Simon? So that department that you're talking about, it's not an department. It's not a department that exists now.
No,
but there
no.
are plans.
No.
Are there plans to put it in place, or is it that we have to spread the word? People don't seem to know that this is a possibility.
Right. I went to a training day in St. Thomas recently, and a few of the farmers were in awe, because, as I said, there's an instinctive, and there's a question from.
Okay, let's take the question. From
a Mr. Bain. He put something in the chat from
yes.
Mr. Bain.
Go ahead, Mr. Bain. Please.
Good evening, everyone. I want to ask Mr. Simon to talk to us about the cost of repositioning of these large trees and who covers the cost. Is this being considered as part of the national response to Hurricane Melissa?
Thanks for that question. Right now, there's no department. I think right now the process is more and more people are recognizing that a tree lying flat on the ground with all its leaves off does not necessarily speak doom and gloom for that plant. And especially if it is established that there is only partial damage to the tap roots. Even if the lateral roots get busted, no big deal. But if the tap root is significantly damaged, then it means that the risk of resuscitating is increased to the extent of the tap root. So as the hurricanes get more furious and more people are losing their orchard trees, whether it be their housewives or established orchards, it is something that people who normally put their hands on their heads and say everything is done have now gotten this new lease on life, that this kind of resuscitation can be done. I don't know. To the extent that the government knows about it, is to the extent that the government would know that this procedure has been long years established in the coffee industry, where the market does not wait. The market cannot wait for replanting. So the resuscitation concept will bring a plant that is as good as dead back into production without the gap. It brings an income to the farm owner, and it sustains the international market, who will not survive a gap in the supply cycle. Now, the cost of resuscitation at tree is new. I don't think there are any established norms for that. It depends on the tree. It depends on the tonnage of the jack that you use. Now, one jack can last a lifetime if properly used, and the larger the estate that you're using using the jack, is the greater the unit, is the less the unit cost obviously would be. So if somebody's taking on an estate where all the trees have been blown in one direction and certainly not upright and will deteriorate if allowed to stay, then one man and two assistants will come and jack the tree together with the same tool that they use for all the trees. Depending on the size, you may have to go to a higher tonnage, depending on how stiff the tree is or how bulky the trunk is. And after straightening the tree, you'll now need a very strong rope or a cable, two-dimensionally, to hold it in place, because any other breeze that is coming, whether related to the weather system or just ordinary breeze, can cause dislocation. And as I said before, don't do this in one fell swoop. It's better you phase it. It's easier on the root system and allows for regeneration.
Okay,
to be more precise.
Okay, Marcia Williams has a question, and it kind of touched on something you just said a while ago. She was asking if there's a time limit to which this must be done. So how long could the trees remain flat before, if you're going to resuscitate it, how much time you have to start?
All right. That's a very, very good question. Now, when the tree is flat on the ground, what it means is that all the roots on one side have been severed. If they weren't, then the tree couldn't be flat. So you have to accept from day one that you have lost at least half of your lateral roots, which are indispensable to the plant. Now, what will determine how quickly you move is certainly going to be the level of wilting that is taking place. What you want to do is to restore the tree in fairly good time before you get premature abscission. Premature abscission is just what takes place between the leaf and the stem at the point of the petiole. So if the plant is losing moisture because the roots are gone, if the plant is losing its regular supply of nutrients, then you're getting wilting. So even if wilting have started, it doesn't mean that you're too late. But you don't want wilting to progress to the point where you're getting leaf abscission or leaf fall. If the leaves are falling, then you're at a critical point for rehabilitation, for resuscitation. However, if you are late in the field, or some farmers can't get to their field readily after a hurricane because the roads are impassable.
Mm-hmm.
If you arrive and you see all your leaves fallen, then it means that you have to get to work now. That is not, even when all the leaves are gone, that's not a death sentence. That's not a death sentence. You're going to cut the upper part of the tree to reduce the demand load on the remaining roots. So having gotten rid of the demanding load, then you straighten that tree, even though all the leaves are lost, and then you have to now put an irrigation in place. If you're on a mountain or up in the Blue Mountain, you just have to water by hand and get that plant that has lost all its leaves, get the root zone supple and moist, and the leaves will regenerate.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I was just going through the chat. Yes. Could the plant stay in a horizontal position in the event owner has no resources? Well, I guess if it stays indefinitely, it's gonna die.
Repeat that question. Repeat that question for me, please.
It said, could the plant stay in horizontal position in the event the owner has no resources or help to lift it?
No, it can't stay in the horizontal position because the simple reason for that is that plants are phototropic, so they are naturally going to be wanting to be upright, going towards the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So if they stay on the ground for an indeterminate period and the foliage is lost because of whatever reason, and so on, and you're just simply late in attending to the plant, then it will eventually die.
Yes. Okay. I think we're about to wrap now.
Yes. So I think it's something that we have to. It's a new concept. And as I said,
well, it's not new because you say you've been doing it in the coffee industry for some time.
Right. So
but it's new.
I don't know why it's so concealed. That being the case, but we need to get. I think what is exposing the need for this kind of resuscitation more and more is that we are seeing more and more unprecedented damage to the food sector and to the ornamental sector, large, and the forestry sector as well.
Yes.
So this is what is giving rise to let us see what we can do, what we can salvage. And remember, I went to a house burnt down and you're going to rebuild, but you say, what is there to salvage? Well, it's the same concept.
Have you ever spoken to the minister about this?
No, I have not been so lucky to get audience with the minister. But I think the time is ripe for that. And for the RADA officers to get more exposure training with the techniques.
Okay. I don't see any more hands up. So I'm going to hand it back to PE Arsenio, and he will introduce the person who's going to do the thank you.
Yes. Thank you too.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for that informative session. It's indeed staggering to think of the impact of the hurricane on our vegetation. I, for one, didn't know that a fallen tree could be rehabilitated. it was good to not consider that possible, but the process behind that and all that you're doing to spread that knowledge. So thank you. But to do the official vote of thanks, I will now invite AJ Mattis.
All right, good evening, fellow Kiwanians and guests. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right, so Mr. Simon, on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, I want to sincerely thank you, for your very informative and insightful presentation this evening. Your presentation, on the resuscitation of Jamaica's flora, particularly the restoration of our trees, and the whole connection to food security and environmental sustainability. It was very, very insightful and especially timely and relevant given the challenges we're currently facing. It helped to clear up a number of misconceptions and introduced us to some technical knowledge involving the properly resuscitate trees. And we definitely appreciate the practical perspective you brought to the realities of the work ahead. So again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and for the important work you continue to do. I just want to say again, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. It's my greatest pleasure. And I hope from now on it will continue to spark the interest so that we can get this new this concept taken on board nationally. Yeah, as we go ahead.
Definitely.
And thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
That's a certificate of appreciation that I'd like to get to you.
Thank you so much. This is so novel. This is so novel. This is so novel.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
P. Arsenio, your time.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't hear Sergeant on. So I'll move to any other business. I personally don't have any other business, but I'll now open the floor to anyone who might have any other business. All right, if there is no other business, we will move on to the notices announcement by DLG William Reese.
Thank you very much, President-elect Arsenio. Before I present any announcements or inter-club opportunities, I think I would be remiss if I did not welcome somebody who I've missed for a long time, who I brought into the club, former president of Michael Circle K, Joshua Brown. Welcome, Joshua. And let me also extend a very special welcome to DP Richard, who, as we know, was away. He was undergoing a medical procedure. He has joined the meeting as well. And I would also extend warm welcome to the members of our SLPs, those from St. Andrew High School, St. Jude's High School, and DuPont, Dunoon Technical High School. Regarding notices, just for reminders, our Key Kids Week started February 9th, that was yesterday, and it goes on to Saturday the 14th. Billiards Club Week is from February 23 to 27, and the Billiards Club, which you referred to, President-elect Arsenio, and K-Kids Church service is on Sunday, this Sunday, February the 15th, at 9 a.m. at Saxthorpe Methodist Church on Mannings Hill Road. We have confirmation about 3 or 4 of our Billiards Club that they will be in attendance, and I'm hoping that members of our own club will join the children on that particular day. That is Sunday, February the 15th. And just a reminder, upcoming Divisional Council meeting, second quarter, is on Sunday, February 22nd. Venue to be announced. Our 3 delegates have already been announced as president, past president, and our president-elect. But once the venue has been announced, I will advise the members. And just for interclubbing opportunities, as usual, fellow Kiwanians, I will advise you in the morning of the interclub opportunity to balance the week and for early next week. President, acting president, our senior, that's all for announcements and interclub opportunities. You may at this time want to ask the members, especially for visiting clubs, if they have any announcements that they would like to make, may do so at this time. Over to you.
Thank you, DLG Willie. So yes, if there is anyone else online who has an announcement, you may go ahead and share with us.
Good evening again. I am Raquel from 23 East Professional St. Andre Online. We are hosting our first retro party on the 28th of March 2026 at the Footprints Cafe. Admission is 1,300 pre-sold, 1,500 at the gate. We ask that you join us in this fundraising activity. Come and enjoy the vibe and give us your support. Thank you. We'll begin at 7. Okay.
Could you repeat the date?
The 28th of March.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else with announcements? All right. If not, I see DP Marcel on. DP Marcel, can you share a thought for the week with us?
Happy to do that. Good evening, all. The thought for this week is almost like a warning. It says, that man who lives for self alone lives for the meanest human known. Kind of rhyme, but it's heavy meaty. Oh, pardon the endorsement by my dogs. It's an endorsement. The man who lives for self alone lives for the meanest human known. Have a good week, all.
Thank you.
Thank you, DP Marcel. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. So, Kiwanians, guests, friends, all, I invite you to raise your glasses with me in a toast to Kiwanis International and Jamaica Land We Love. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated.
Well done, President.